Most sixth-rounders never play a single NHL game. The odds are brutal. The expectations are non-existent. Pick 171 in 1998 was supposed to disappear like all the others. But something went wrong with this plan. Or maybe something went very, very right.
And they put me with him. He doesn't speak English, but he is the sickest player I've ever seen in my life.
This is the story of the 171st pick.
The most lifetime of anybody. Stolen puck by Datsyuk, score!
This is Pavel Datsyuk, the man his peers called the best two-way player in the world. Before the championships, before the trophies, before the highlight reels that made goalies look amateur, he was a Russian teenager nobody wanted to draft. 2 NHL drafts passed him by completely. 1996, 1997. Over 480 players selected across both years, and scouts never called his name. Scouts had their reasons, and on paper, those reasons made sense. At 5 feet 11 inches, he lacked the size that NHL teams valued in the late 1990s. He played for Dynamo Yekaterinburg in the Russian Super League, thousands of miles from the North American arenas where NHL scouts spent most of their time. When they did see him, they noticed the walk first. Bow-legged and pigeon-toed, Datsyuk moved with what one observer called a twitchy gait that made him look awkward off the ice. Scouts saw the shuffle and stopped looking deeper. Detroit Red Wings Director of European Scouting Håkan Andersson didn't miss it.
The one guy that really is Hawkins' guy would be Pavel Datsyuk, and really was a superstar out of the late rounds.
During the summer of 1997 and 1998, Anderson traveled to Moscow on assignment to evaluate defenseman Dmitry Kalinin. The report he filed afterward barely mentioned Kalinin. Instead, Anderson wrote about a smaller forward on the opposing team, describing him as this little guy who handled the puck differently than anyone else on the ice. Anderson made a second trip to confirm what he saw. He scheduled a third trip to watch Datsyuk again, but a snowstorm grounded his flight out of Moscow, and the visit never happened. A scout from the Calgary Flames had booked the same flight. Because of the storm, Anderson believes he remained the only NHL scout who saw Datsyuk play before the 1998 draft. In 1998, Detroit finally took a chance. 6th round, 171st overall. By that point in the draft, teams are throwing darts at a board hoping something sticks. The message was clear. 170 players were chosen before him. 30 teams had passed on him multiple times. Even Detroit, the team that drafted him, wasn't expecting much. A 6th rounder was a lottery ticket, not a prospect. He stayed in Russia for 2 more seasons. 1998-99 with Dynamo Yekaterinburg, then moved to Abars Kazan for 2000-2001. Detroit owned his rights, but showed no urgency to bring him over. The league had made its judgment, and Datsyuk knew it. During those years in Russia, he carried weight that had nothing to do with hockey. His mother died when he was 15 years old, a loss that nearly ended his career before it even started. Playing in Russia, undrafted by the league he dreamed of joining, grieving a parent, and watching other players get called up while he remained forgotten, Datsyuk considered walking away from the game entirely. He didn't. Detroit kept watching, waiting. The question that would define his career began to form. What did one scout see that 30 teams and 170 draft picks missed? And could Detroit turn a 6th round afterthought into something the league had never seen before? Detroit brought Datsyuk to North America in 2001, but the organization refused to rush him into a role he wasn't ready to fill. At 23 years old, he arrived as one of the older rookies in the league, carrying the added burden of a language he couldn't speak and a culture he didn't understand. Teammates described him as shy to the point of being invisible, overwhelmed by the speed of NHL life, and visibly lost in team meetings where English dominated every conversation. The Red Wings deployed a support system built specifically for Russian players. Igor Larionov, the veteran center who had already established himself as one of the game's elite two-way forwards, took responsibility for sharpening Datsyuk's defensive positioning and teaching him how to read North American systems. Sergei Fedorov, another Russian star on the roster, helped with the daily adjustments that came with living in a foreign country. Captain Steve Yzerman provided leadership and set the standard for the work ethic that Datsyuk would later be known for. The organization paid for English classes and arranged living situations designed to ease the transition. Detroit gave him time, structure, and patience. He stayed on the ice 2 hours longer than required each day, working stick handling drills until his hands blistered. The puck became an extension of his body through repetition that bordered on compulsiveness. He later explained the mindset that fueled it, saying, "In Russia, we had tough times. Only one puck. I always wanted the puck, so I learned how to keep it and make space and get the puck when the other guy has it." He studied videos of opponents with the same intensity, breaking down tendencies and developing counters for moves he hadn't even seen yet. The signature dekes that would later become known as Datsyukin were built in those extra hours, refined through trial and error until they became instinct. During the 2001-2002 seasons, his NHL debut year, coach Scotty Bowman placed him on a line with Brett Hull and Boyd Devereaux, a combination Hull nicknamed the Two Kids and a Goat line, in reference to his own age. Hull, entering his late 30s, became an unexpected mentor. The trio worked because each player filled a distinct role. Boyd Devereaux brought speed, Datsyuk provided the vision and setup, and Hull finished the plays. Datsyuk recorded 35 points during the regular season, numbers that looked modest on paper, but revealed something different in practice. Teammates began noticing a skill that separated him from every other forward they'd seen. His poke check operated with surgical precision, stripping pucks from opposing players without drawing penalties. Defensive ability at that level, combined with his offensive creativity, made him a problem opponents couldn't solve with traditional coverage. Hull recognized what was developing before most others did. He told reporters, "The most skilled human being I've ever seen, and he's just learning the game. Once he figures it out a little more, he's going to dominate this league like no one else in this era." The statement carried weight because Hull had played with elite talent his entire career. The 2002 playoffs would prove whether Hull's prediction held merit and whether a 6th-round pick could deliver when championships were on the line. Year 1 ended with a Stanley Cup championship. Datsyuk contributed 6 points during Detroit's 2002 playoff run, recording 3 goals and 3 assists as the Red Wings claimed the franchise's 10th Stanley Cup. For a 6th-round pick in his rookie season, the championship validated everything Hakan Andersson saw in that Moscow arena years earlier. Detroit had been right to wait, right to invest, and right to believe in a player 30 other teams ignored. It marked the beginning rather than the peak. Between 2003 and 2006, Datsyuk transformed from a skilled offensive player into a complete two-way forward. His defensive game sharpened under Larionov's continued mentorship, and the league began recognizing what teammates already knew. In 2006, he won his first Lady Byng Memorial Trophy, awarded annually to the player who demonstrates the best combination of sportsmanship, gentlemanly conduct, and ability. The award acknowledged something rare in professional hockey, a player capable of elite offensive production without resorting to penalties or cheap plays. He would win the Lady Byng 4 consecutive years from 2006 through 2009, becoming the first player to achieve that feat in over 70 years. The peak arrived between 2007 and 2010. Detroit won its 2nd Stanley Cup with Datsyuk in 2008, and his playoff performance demonstrated complete mastery of the game. He recorded 23 points across 22 playoff games, contributing 10 goals and 13 assists as Detroit defeated the Philadelphia Penguins in 6 games. The following season, he posted a career-high 97 points during the regular season and earned a Hart Memorial Trophy nomination as the league's most valuable player. The 2008-09 campaign also brought his first Frank J. Selke Trophy as the NHL's best defensive forward, an award he would win 3 consecutive years through 2010. No player in the modern era has paired elite offense with elite defense at that level. Brett Hull, who played alongside Datsyuk during those early years, told reporters, "He's the smartest player I've ever played with." The numbers were absurd. Between 2006 and 2013, Datsyuk led the NHL in takeaways 4 separate seasons. 696 total. The next closest player? 488. That's not elite. That is domination. His poke check remained surgically precise, stripping pucks from opponents without drawing penalties, and his offensive creativity turned routine plays into viral moments. Opposing players couldn't predict his moves because Datsyuk himself didn't always know what he would do until the moment demanded it. Fans and media dubbed him the Magician for dekes that defied physics and made all-star defensemen look unprepared.
He was a magician out there on the ice, but he was also a hard worker.
Coaches, general managers, and fellow players understood his value extended beyond individual highlights. Red Wings coach Mike Babcock explained the decision-making process that separated Datsyuk from other elite players. If you're down a goal in the last minute, who do you want out there? Ovechkin, Crosby, Malkin, or Datsyuk? Any of them. But if you're up a goal in the last minute and need to protect the lead, who would you want? You'd want Pav. General manager Ken Holland described his versatility in simpler terms. What do you need? A goal, a penalty kill, a face-off win, a great takeaway, even a hit? Pav does anything at any time as well as anyone in the game. Todd Bertuzzi, who played with some of the NHL's best during his career, stated plainly, "I'll tell you right now that Pavel Datsyuk is the best player I have ever played with." When Zdeno Chara captained one team at the 2012 NHL All-Star Game, he used his first overall selection to pick Datsyuk, explaining, "He's an unbelievable player. I really admire the way he plays the game and the way he acts on and off the ice." An NHL player poll ranked him the second best player in the league behind only Sidney Crosby. The recognition was no longer about potential. Datsyuk had become what Hull predicted, a player who dominated the league like no one else in his era. Over 14 seasons with the Detroit Red Wings, Datsyuk played 953 regular season games and accumulated 918 points through 314 goals and 604 assists. His career plus-minus rating of positive 187 stood in stark contrast to his penalty minutes, which totaled just 172 across his entire NHL career. The disparity between those numbers revealed the essence of his game. Dominant without being dirty, effective without crossing lines. During his prime years, he never fell below a point-per-game pace, maintaining offensive production that matched his defensive excellence. He earned selections to 4 NHL All-Star games. The hardware accumulated in ways that separated him from nearly every other player in league history. His 2 Stanley Cup championships anchored a trophy case that included 3 consecutive Frank J. Selke trophies as the NHL's best defensive forward. The 4 consecutive Lady Byng Memorial trophies from 2006 through 2009 made him the first player to win that award 4 straight years in over 70 years, a streak not matched since Frank Boucher of the New York Rangers won from 1933 to 1935. Datsyuk and Ron Francis remain the only 2 players in NHL history to win both the Selke Trophy and the Lady Byng Trophy during their careers, a pairing that requires elite performance on both ends of the ice while maintaining the sportsmanship that most physical play eliminates. Datsyuk represented Russia at 5 Olympic Games across 2002, 2006, 2010, 2014, and 2018, serving as team captain in both 2014 and 2018. He captured a bronze medal at the 2002 Salt Lake City Olympics and gold at the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics. His gold medal performance at the 2012 IIHF World Championship completed his entry into the Triple Gold Club, an exclusive group of players who have won the Stanley Cup, Olympic gold, and World Championship gold. The combination of NHL dominance and international success cemented his status among the sport's all-time greats. 170 players were selected before him in 1998. 30 teams passed on him in 1996 and 1997. Those teams watched him win 2 Stanley Cups, 3 Selke trophies, and 4 Lady Byng trophies while redefining what a two-way forward could accomplish. The 171st pick became a Hall of Famer, while first-rounders from those same drafts faded into obscurity. In 2016, at age 37, Datsyuk left the NHL to return to Russia and be closer to his daughter after 14 seasons away from home. He played 5 more years in the KHL, suiting up for SKA St. Petersburg from 2016 to 2019 and Avtomobilist Yekaterinburg from 2019 to 2021 before officially retiring at age 43. In 2017, during the NHL's centennial celebration, the league named him one of the 100 greatest NHL players in history while he was still playing overseas. 7 years later, in 2024, the Hockey Hall of Fame inducted him in his first year of eligibility. The player who went undrafted twice and was selected 171st overall became a Hall of Famer with 2 Stanley Cups, 3 Selke trophies, and 4 Lady Byng trophies. Detroit saw something 30 other teams missed, and the patience to develop it properly paid off in a career that redefined what a two-way forward could accomplish. He gave them 2 championships and became the most complete forward of his generation, proving that the best players aren't always the ones everyone wants. The NHL star nobody wanted became the player everybody feared. And he did it without ever forgetting what it took to get there. That's not just skill, that's mastery. If you want more stories about the players the league tried to ignore, hit subscribe. Skates on Scars tells the truth that everyone else skips.